approve them, yeah, so,
Approve 'em
so
so they
Janet can distribute them.
Yeah, I can release them.
Good evening and welcome to the June 17th Board of Selectmen meeting. Let's begin with pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everyone. Warrants to be signed, for those of you who haven't signed yet. And then we have minutes to approve. Let's start with the one that was in our packet. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes for May 13th, 2013?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Anyone? Anyone? Okay, great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, great. And actually, were those the executive and the general together, that were just together?
No, that was
No,
just-
these are, other ones are June 3rd.
Okay. I just saw that listed on the agenda piece.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the June 3rd minutes from executive session for 6 o'clock and 6:45 as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. We just received these, so if you guys need a minute to go through them, take a minute.
Looks fine to me, Mr. Chairman.
I'm fine, too.
Gary?
Yeah, everything seems okay.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. I like saying that even when everyone votes aye. Okay, so is Peter coming in tonight?
We told him not to come in until later.
Okay, that's fine.
After
So,
7.
so that's fine. We'll stop where we are in that in the process. So we were actually successful tonight in keeping our agenda fairly open to focus on the recommendations from DOR and discuss them. So I'd like to plan for about an hour, and if Peter comes in early, we'll change gears and meet with Peter. The goal tonight is I'm not really looking for any motions at this point or any decisions. Obviously, if you feel motivated to do so, you know, it's at your discretion. But this is a chance for, there's a lot of information given to us. And it's a chance for us to kind of talk about, first of all, I'm going to, when we go to each topic, I'm going to have Mike kind of give us the current status of, you know, some of these things are, I'll say almost done or in motion. Other things could take years to do. So we have, if ever. And that's the key, is that these are recommendations for us to consider. And so we need to look at them and decide how we might want to proceed or if we want to proceed. And so hopefully I'm looking for really open discussion tonight. I'm not looking for a lot of decisions. And I was going to just go in the order it's given to us, even though I believe the first one we start with is the big one. So I'm going to start on page 5 with recommendation number 1, which is adopt a town charter. So this is a huge topic, but I thought we'd at least start with what is a charter, why do you do a charter, and then get people's thoughts on if we might need a charter. But this is, you know, some of them are, hey, do some training on Unix, which is small. This is a big deal.
That's a big one.
So, Mike, can we start with you and just talk about a little bit of what a charter is and why a town might adopt a charter?
Sure. Well, at our June 3rd meeting, I did include in the packet some summaries of the various forms of government in the state of Massachusetts. One of which is a charter. It's called a Home Rule Charter. You can achieve, and there's a lot of towns that have adopted the Home Rule Charter with and without open town meetings. Some have representative town meetings, others have open town meetings. But I don't know if you still have that around here. Home Rule charter towns are like Auburn, Billerica, Chelmsford, Dedham, Dartmouth, Falmouth, Natick, Reading, Stoughton, Walpole, Winchester, and there's about 45 more. The charter codifies the operation of the town. It goes in front of the bylaws. You have a charter, and then the bylaws give you direction on how to carry out the charter. It's done in a very formal process. If you adopt it, you have to, you elect charter commissioners, 9 of them, and they run at town meeting. They put their candidacy in just like any elected position, and it's open to everyone.
But is it specifically, they run specifically at town meeting that night?
No, it's on the,
It's a regular-
it's on the election.
Okay.
It's just like running for selectmen.
Gotcha.
You-
All right.
But you're running for charter commission. And those that are elected, they have to, there's an 18-month process and there's an 11-month process. Obviously, the 11-month process is a little more compact, but the Charter Commission has to get together, and there is kind of a template most towns use, because you have to follow the Mass General Law that sets up the charter and what duties and responsibilities the towns actually have. The legislature withholds certain activities for their own control. You can't, create your own taxes in a town, things like that. You can't change the voting regulations. That's kept by the state legislature. And a lot of other things, liquor control, things like that. But the day-to-day nuts and bolts operations of the town are pretty much up for grabs. And who is responsible to whom, who's elected, who's appointed. So you can make all those changes through a charter commission. But once the charter commission is selected, they'll either have their meetings, they have to have at least 2 public hearings. One in the very beginning, right after they've been formed, to get public input, and then one right at the very end for when before they go back to the voters for charter approval. So they get input in the beginning and input at the end. And then the town meeting adopts or doesn't adopt the charter.
And what would you say would be advantages or disadvantages to having a charter versus the way we operate now? What are the kind of classic ones?
Well, you, as the Board of Selectmen, can delegate certain of your authority. But without a charter, say like appointing authority or hiring authority or firing authority, right now you have all that. You can And you really can't delegate that without the adoption of a charter, form of government. That's that, and the same goes with some of, we have, I think I've said this multiple times, we have 9 separate hiring authorities in this town. Now, that includes the light department and the water department, and they're separate elected bodies. But the planning board is a hiring, firing authority, conservation commission is, and they're, the planning board's elected. The conservation commission, the ZBA, they're appointed, but they have their own hiring and firing authority. In essence,
Health department.
the only, and even
And
in,
school.
even in Parks and Recreation is their own hiring and firing authority.
Health department.
Board of Health is, the school is. In our current setup, the selectmen have hiring and firing authority over the chief, the police chief, fire chief, town administrator, and
Building inspector.
building inspector. That's it.
Question, Steve?
Sure, go ahead.
Would a bylaw change any of that, where if we felt the need to, sort of like combine the selectmen and the conservation commission, or?
Changing elected to appointed or appointed
No, I mean the hiring process, as you just went through.
Through bylaw, I don't believe so. But I'll look into that. That's a good question, but I don't think you can do it by bylaw. You can do certain things by bylaw, but the other things you can't.
Mr. Chairman.
So, I'll throw out there that I like the concept, and I'm not advocating that we adopt the charter at this point, but I like the concept of documenting and clearly delineating how our government works or doesn't work at this point. And, and then as we go through that process, advocating for changes where it makes sense. And in particular, with Mike's position, and not Mike specifically, but this position, it does concern me to see an organization with no specific leader. We're kind of, in my opinion, like a chairman of the board, but within a chairman of the board, there's always a CEO or president who oversees things. And I do think we've had some good people that have made it work despite the process, but that's dangerous because we might not, that might not always be the case. And again, not specifically advocating any change at this point, but to me, I think this is pretty important to document how our government works. Because I think in this document, this DOR document, we saw how it changed over time. It's changed over time. And then secondly, take a look at the underlying structure and what we want to recommend for changes. And I guess the third piece, and I'll open up for thoughts, is I'd really like not to have a government study committee be the answer to this. I think that's been out there a couple times, and I'm not advocating that it's an easy thing to do. I'd rather see if we could get some help and have the selectmen be the driving body here and have people do the homework so that we as a select board could decide what and if and how we bring this to the town. So I guess the outcome of this for me personally of another committee is not the right solution. I think we've been there, done that a little bit. And I also think there's some common sense involved and that we're not necessarily trying to reinvent the wheel here. There's, when you have a building of this size, which is relatively small, and 9 leaders or however you want to look at it, to me that's problematic. And not proposing a solution by any means right now, but my thought is that this is a very worthwhile thing for this board to take on.
Mr. Chairman, again, I'd just like to point out a couple of things that were actually in the report, and what the report's saying is that we're doing a good job of running the town based on the way we have the setup now, and there's cooperation between departments and boards, and, so it works well. If you ever get to a point where there wasn't that cooperation, then we could really have some issues, and I'll highlight, it says, we have an organization that's ill-suited to a cooperative effort. We've been lucky that we've had a cooperative effort, but in times of political, discourse and different opinions, it could get to the point where, we could run into some issues. I think what I'd like to see is what are we actually eligible for in terms of a charter? Is it just the home rule charter that we're eligible for? Are we eligible? I think it would be good to know what charters are out there and what's available. And I guess it's based on population, right, Mike?
No, actually, Dave, it has nothing to do with population.
So we could go to a city charter if we
Oh,
wanted to?
no, as far as being a town.
Right, yeah, okay.
No. The city, you'd have to adopt a city charter, and I believe that you have to be at least population 10,000. And then that opens up the whole other, you're gonna have a mayor.
Right.
You're gonna have a city manager, you're gonna have both. I don't think that would be, and plus, most cities don't have town meetings, so you'd be getting rid of town meeting.
Right, from city council.
Yeah, and-
Well, again, I'm not advocating for any of that, and it's not like I don't want to make a decision. What I'd like to know is what's actually available to us based on our size. Is it just home rule, or are there other, what are the options? And I think that's a good starting point for us to say, hey, you know what? We've grown up to the point where it's worked well to this point, but leading into, the next 5 years, we need to make these necessary changes so that we've adopted one of these type of models. I mean, I think we have to know what models are there, just before
Well,
we
there,
do.
there
What's
is,
available?
there is another charter model available. It's called the Special Acts Charter.
Okay,
It doesn't entail an elected charter commission.
Mhm.
The selectmen appoint a special acts commission or a committee. It's not even called a commission. You appoint a committee, and they basically go through the same process the commission does. However, when you
Has to
get
get through legislature,
well,
right?
when you get to the end and
Has to be approved by the
you
legislature.
you take the charter that the committee has proposed and you take it to town meeting. And once town meeting approves it, then you request a special act from the state legislature. So it has to pass both the House and the Senate and be signed by the governor.
is there a specific model for that, though, Mike?
Yes, there
Yeah,
absolutely
and
is.
that's what I think where we should start, to say, okay, go into this saying what's available, and does it, and look at each, if there's one or two or three, take a look at each one and say which one seems to fit us best, or our model, the way we have it works, with some tweaks to maybe some bylaws here and there. So I think, what's available to us, I think that's the important starting point.
Yeah,
For
there's
me,
about
anyway.
40 communities, and this is accurate up to 2008, that have a special act. Before the legislature created home rule, that's the only way you could get a charter, was through a special act. The home rule law, but people still, towns still use either or. The special act could be done in one legislative year, but maybe not. If you don't have strong legislative shepherding through the House and the Senate.
Well, you can advocate for your bill, like anything
Yeah,
else.
it can get lost.
If I could make a suggestion, Steve, that we pull out and look through, I understand it's rather old, but our selectmen's handbook.
Yep.
Because that had many different models
Mhm.
in there of charter and of town meeting type thing, also where you elect instead of open town meeting, you can have a charter with representatives to a town meeting. That had a lot of the different options in it, I believe,
it does.
that aren't in here. I know Mike has gone out and given us this. One thing I particularly liked in this, it spelled out why you might want to look at this. Retirement of key personnel, the inability to attract candidates to serve in either elected or appointed offices, perception that municipal departments are not communicating and coordinating functions as they should, an increase in population and what's that word, Dave? Resident increase in severe demands for town meeting attendance, and a need for greater oversight of financial matters or service delivery. You know, many of them I think we're okay with, and then others.
And I like what that says. It's not just
I mean,
us.
It's
about the
telling you
people
why
coming.
you want
Right.
to look through this, so maybe the first thing we need to say, I think this has done a lot of that for us and said why we want to be there, but I'd also like to see the 94 report. Is that available online, or could we just get copies of that so we could see where we've come from then? Because it references
They kind of
that
did
many
that.
times.
They
in-
kind of did that.
Actually, I haven't seen the 94 report.
The study?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the DOR did. There was one done in 99 by an outside firm.
Well, they reference a report here, and they gave us
Yeah.
the changes.
There
was a
the
DOR.
94 report, I
Right,
believe they.
right.
And I gave them all the other studies too. There's been 7.
Yeah. I have a bunch of them in a notebook at home.
I mean, we have made some changes over the years, like with the,
Incremental.
basically,
yes.
I'd say with the finance.
Well, even
department.
this board, going to 5 was part of that.
Yeah,
That was one
a
of them.
change,
Yeah.
And that's a
yes,
big change.
so-
And that was a special acts
special act.
legislation.
Right.
All the changes we've made with the finance director, and they've all been special acts. So the towns use special acts a lot.
But to know what's allowed within those special acts, is it
Mm-hmm.
you just come up with your own model? Or, again, it would be good to do the research to say, hey, these are the 3 or 2 models that are available to us. This is what the org chart looks like. To get that piece of information would be great. And to see if it applies. Because, in this report mentioning, to me, it's the same people, again, no offense to anybody, but it's the same people volunteering on all these boards, and it's been very difficult. And this part of the frustration that I'll vent tonight is it's difficult to get people to volunteer. And I ask people all the time, we've got open, how many open spots? Look at the open spots that we have. So maybe if we consolidate, and move the model in a little different, basically modernize the model going forward. I think it's a good roadmap. It's a good tool for the people that are going to be here beyond us. It's time to modernize a little bit more. And again, town meeting. I came from a town where you were elected your town meeting representatives. You didn't go to town meeting. I was mortified my first town meeting when everybody was up yelling and screaming at each other. But anyway, and again, it's only 150, 200 people. There's 8,000 people in the town. So again, I want to know what's available. And as far as electing a commission or another board, that can certainly be this, that committee for a special act committee could be us. Doesn't have to be anybody else beyond the Board of Selectmen, if we wanted to do it
Because
that
it goes
way.
back
You
to
don't
the
want to
whole
create another committee.
You don't want to
I
create another
agree.
volunteer
Right.
challenge.
Right.
And
Right.
Stu, you had a question?
Right, so I'd like to take 2 steps back. One is, we need to know the why, which I think, Gary, you just outlined. Why do we want to do this? The next question is, why now? And then the third question is, what's the benefit, the upside, the ROI, whatever you want to call it? So I think we need to be able to fully, vet that, understand that, and then be able to, as a board, understand that, clarify that, and be able to put that kind of to writing so that we know what we're working on, and then be able to move forward on that. That piece, that you have there, Gary, that we saw last week or 2 weeks ago, really tells the why, and I think we all understand the why. The question is, over the years, there's been debate There's been studies, we've done some incremental tweaks and changes. The question becomes, why now? And then really, what's the real benefit? What's the ROI? What's the long-term benefit to the community? What's the long-term benefit to town employees? Just the whole operation in general. So I think we need to be able
So
to
I will-
understand that big picture very clearly.
Great.
Just to me, and my comment about it's the same people. Thank God for the same people
Oh, yeah. No,
that are on all these boards, running around 3 meetings a week.
Yep.
We've held it together. I mean, look at our stab fund in '94 was 0. We were insolvent, basically. We didn't even have reserves. Look where we are now. I mean, we're very close to where the state recommends. Based on, I mean, obviously our budget's gone. Was it 7 million to 25, 27 million where we are now? So, we've done a good job of managing this process, but I think it's time to modernize and maybe consolidate
Right.
a little bit.
And
So,
the time to do it is when things are going pretty well.
Yeah.
Because you're not in the
Don't
panic
manage during a
mode.
crisis,
You
right.
can evaluate it, and we might just end up saying, we just want to codify what we do now because it's working, or we might want to make a change. The one personal thing, again, I'll point out for this is that as part of this town charter piece is built in the role of the town administrator. I would like to look at that regardless of charter, is what I would propose, and really understand how this building functions specifically in the role of that administrator. I know there's all sorts of terms and stuff that can be used for it, so I don't want to, and freaks people out sometimes. But I do think that in itself, because we can actually make a change to that, am I correct, through other means outside of a charter,
yeah, bylaw.
through
You
bylaw.
can do bylaw to a certain extent, but if you go too far, then the DOR is gonna say, you really should be doing this under a charter.
Right. Right. But I do think that is a critical component in my mind, because that has, since the day I've gotten here and started figuring out what was going on, that's just been very strange to me, so. But again, no decision at this point. So I will take the follow-up, which means Janet. No, I'm just kidding. We'll take the follow-up to do a follow-up meeting, and we'll try and do the building blocks of, why do this, why now, what are the benefits, and just talk about, and the different types.
Yes,
And
do
just
the
have a
SWOT
conversation
analysis.
about what it does.
Yeah, just do a
So
SWOT,
we
yeah.
can decide if it's something we want to pursue or not, or, take to the next step. All right, we good to move on?
Just one thing under that, Mr. Chairman, although is that coming up, is that to talk about the finance director's job, but also, again, back to the town administrator, just quick, it says the town administrator's position should be created as a bylaw rather than just as a job description in a budget line item. So,
I think
I
that
think
ties
same
into
thing
what
with
I was saying, yeah, yeah.
same thing with the acting, acting
Finance
finance.
director.
There was actually an upgrade on that, and we never upgraded in MGL.
Right.
Is that under the same thing, or am I skipping too far ahead? Did I skip too far ahead? Sorry if I did that.
Well, but I think it ties to the point that it goes back to the whole budget, the whole review process
Right.
of how we operate. So I think that's part of that bigger
Is
conversation.
it? Okay.
If you take the current bylaws right now and you search the word town administrator, it comes up once.
Right.
And it
Is
just
there a
says.
picture of you?
No. And it just says,
a
town
black hole.
administrator is the human resources director.
Yeah.
That's all it
It said in
says.
here, there was all sorts of, couldn't find you anywhere, in that
Right.
title anywhere in our bylaws, so
Right.
it's like,
And,
So-
and they're right.
It's a bit of a mess.
2002, the Personnel Board approved the town administrator's job description, and that's it.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, would some history of that be helpful to us if going forward also? I mean, because there was kind of two things that you said. You wanted to look at a charter, but you also wanted to take a good look at, I believe, Mike's job
That-
description.
Right, that
So
recommendation.
we may look at
Number
some
2.
history of that. I was gonna say,
Right.
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
number 2,
I
what,
agree.
the review?
Well, no, 2 is the comprehensive bylaw review,
Mhm.
which, so there, some of these things tie together, so there's a charter, there's bylaw review, and in the middle of that can be some of the specific changes we might want to look at, like the role of the town administrator, or those types of things, so they kind of go together. And what I'll try and do is I'll try and work a understandable agenda for us to kind of take on these issues as we go. I mean, this is not, this is not under the heading of quick fix, right? These are
Right.
some decisions, and we'll go from there.
You know, again, and getting back to Gary's earlier point, is that if we take a look at the bylaws as they've recommended, and that may lead us, if we get those bylaws the way we want them, that may lead us to a special acts charter, where this is, this is the way things work, spelled out in the bylaw, and then just codify it as an overall higher, big picture item with the backup behind it. And I think that was one of your first points, Gary, was, will the bylaw changes, just the way it works now, if we just needed to modernize the bylaws, but that may lead us to the roadmap for a special acts charter, which kind of makes sense to me. The higher picture, and then this is how the nuts and bolts work.
Right.
The town administrator does this, 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 and this. These boards do this. So,
And I think the key is if we're gonna take this time to understand how we operate, we wanna capture it in a way such that it can be conveyed to people in the future, and they don't have to
Right.
do the same thing, where they can look at it. So even if we did exactly the same thing, try and put it in a understandable package where people can understand how we operate. Okay, codify the budget process in bylaw. Again, I think it's a similar parallel. Mike, would you have anything to add to that? I mean, you've worked hard to, update our budget process over the years here, so.
Right, as the best I can tell, it's just evolved over the years. And once again, if you go to the bylaw, it just says the town administrator will present a budget to the Budget and Finance Advisory Committee, I think by March 15th. And that's it.
but we have the nuts and bolts of that, thankfully, because we've had
We do.
a strong.
Like I said, it has
Finance committee.
evolved.
Yeah.
But, I mean, prior to me coming, the Board of Selectmen weren't even involved in the budget process.
Right. So if a new town administrator came in, they could literally not do all that and just show up with the budget on March 15th.
Yeah, and then we'd be scrambling like crazy to get.
Well, I
get it
think
done.
Finance Advisory Board would step in and make sure that that was done properly.
They don't have
That authority, right?
authority by bylaw.
Right.
No one's in charge. I
Right.
keep telling you.
Well, yeah,
But you know what? Reading this, they gave us
it's
very high.
horizontal instead of vertical,
They did give us very high marks on our budget process.
Yeah.
They did.
They
yes.
did. They're very complimentary.
I think the
But
key
it's
is
not- it's not-
we don't want to lose that process.
Right,
it's
exactly.
not-
Let's document it. Let's get in a bylaw.
It's not written in stone as to
Right.
how the process should work and why.
Right.
And I
It's
guess-
only happening because we have a willing participant sitting over here and everywhere else in town.
Right.
And I think the comprehensiveness of this, we don't want to just bring a whole bunch of bylaws to town meeting. I'd rather see it be, if there are gonna be changes, have it be under some kind of understandable picture,
Mhm.
where we can understand why we're changing it, what we're changing it, not one here, one there,
Mhm.
as to what the effect is.
Yeah.
There's a quick fix in here, though, one that they recommended to enhance the current procedure that we use, is that they recommended that Finance Committee meet with the Selectmen to present its budget prior to going to town meeting, rather than, it did mention, Selectmen attend the meetings and get involved in the discussion. However, they felt like before, and I can just hear the Finance Advisory Board telling me right now, but we, another meeting, David? But, they should, again, one of the suggestions was, and this may be under the quick fix, under our current procedure,
Don't they struggle
just for time.
to get
is-
it pulled all together in
Yeah.
time to do that? Isn't that one of the big challenges, is just because of all the moving parts and, they have to meet, that they
I
struggle to
think
be able to
this
do
year
that?
is one of the best, and
Yeah.
as I've been a selectman, I mean, it moved forward, I thought, well. But then you gotta remember, the other thing we're working with is we're working with figures that Mike does his best to keep us updated with from the state, that you're trying to lay out a budget when you don't know what you're getting to work with.
It's a moving target.
Right.
Yeah.
But even that being said, I don't, there's a lot of fixed line items in there on the expense
We
side.
could still meet and discuss the moving targets as well, so.
We kind of quasi do that through Mike, but not with the whole committee. So if that means we had to, spend some extra time as a quorumed group, rather than watching all, going to the meetings, then maybe we should do that at that process. We still continue to attend the meetings, but at the end, try to have a joint meeting with them before we go to town meeting with the budget.
Yeah, Gary's comment from this year's, the biggest difference this year, we had that Saturday meeting, where all the departments came in, and the Finance Advisory Board loved that. I mean, it consolidated.
It was one
like
and done, right?
Six meetings in one.
Yeah.
And they all agreed that this last budget season was the
smooth.
best one ever.
Yeah.
So, we'll for sure do the Saturday meeting. The other thing that slows us up is the school budget process. They don't get into it as early as we do. They need, for everything to come out at the same time, they need to start when we start, back in November, December, not wait till January to start.
Is there any reason they can't start earlier?
Not by law, but it might be by
Too many
policy.
estimates. Yeah, too
They-
many estimates for them.
They have a
at that time.
policy. And, they have, a deeper hierarchy. It starts at the departments, then the department heads, the principals present their budget, and it is, it is a more complex budget than ours, granted. So, but, you start earlier. But then they have the same problem. We don't know how much chapter,
Right, they don't know circuit
Maybe they need
breakers,
to-
they don't know reimbursements, they don't know special education.
Yeah, they have a lot more.
There's a lot more
movable
floating
numbers
numbers
there.
there.
But perhaps they could try to Saturday meeting also, like, worked out well. I could see them doing that also.
Yeah, that format seemed to work really well, so.
Okay,
Very
well,
good.
so I think this year, regardless of any official actions, we can make a point to work with FinCom to get together earlier. And even if there's gray areas, at least we'll know as they come in what those gray areas are. But I do think, I think one of the big things here is that we have a lot of great people doing a lot of great things, and we're trying to capture that. Because sometimes you hear something like this and everybody's thinking, oh, they're trying to change or things aren't working. There might be things we can improve, but there's a lot of great things going on, and we don't want to lose that. And the budget process is a good example of some positive changes. That we don't want to lose that.
If I may say though, while we're going over this, I don't know if we're doing this, but just to what Dave just said.
Let's get a quick fix line on
This-
it. Yeah, let's get a
if you
quick,
wanna
quick,
call 'em a
quick
quick
list,
fix, I'm
quick
fine
fix
with that,
list,
but yeah,
and then a
there are
long-term
things
list.
that we could act on now, that
Yeah.
we don't need special legislation on or bylaws, and that is one of them.
Yeah.
We could say that we wanna have that meeting
Yeah.
before the town meetings.
And Sandy and her group can plug that in on their schedule, I'm sure.
oh, yeah.
So, yeah, why don't we start, like you say, a quick fix list and a,
That's what I
Mr.
said.
Chairman,
So
yeah.
that's why I'm trying to get a feel for this
Yeah.
conversation is,
and a recap, and come up with a list of
right,
long-term, short-term.
because there are some things that are already in process, and we might be able to have one meeting on quick fixes where we all agree,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
close to agree.
Yeah, it's a priority.
We do
punch
have it
list,
as
you know?
tonight as discussion.
I'm
so
a big,
right,
I'm a
yeah,
big
but-
list guy.
But, well, that's why I think,
Lists.
that, I was gonna reorganize this to maybe some quick fixes and stuff, but I thought, I didn't wanna bias it tonight. I wanted just to go in the order they gave us, and then hopefully pull some things out of that.
Yeah.
So if we can, I'd like to see if we can get through the next couple here, and then we'll switch over to Peter, so we don't keep him here too long, but I would like to see if we can keep this financial section rolling and see if we can get through it. Next one is the discontinue inappropriate revolving fund. So Mike, maybe you can talk to where we are on each of these funds, and I think Dave, you referenced at one point these funds have been around for a long time, some of them, and we should take a look at I assume these are somewhat black and white accounting issues.
And this is where the difficulty comes in budgeting, and Andy from FinCom really did a good job of trying to dig into these funds, not only, all these revolving funds, and try to get a feel for you know, what's kind of off balance sheet and what isn't, you know? Because it's so difficult to try to know where all the numbers are coming from. And because when these funds run low in a certain year, now you've got a structural problem.
Yep.
You know, so again, this is good, but my question on this would be, where would this, if these are really inappropriate, why wasn't that documented in the CPA's management letter for us to discontinue use? So maybe there's a conflict between the state DOR and what the CPA's had to say. So that, I'm curious to see what you have to say, Mike, on this one.
Because if I may, I mean, we've still been creating these as we.
I hope we're not creating more, well,
But you can if they're
Well, that's
appropriate.
how we
It
started,
depends.
that's how we started the ambulance.
right, but we've made the proper adjustments,
Yes.
though. We've kept up with that.
I mean,
You know,
recently.
we've kept an eye on it. Right.
Conservation recently, I think, created one in the last few years.
So Mike, maybe can you just give us an overview on where these are at and what you think for the conservation, local
Another
access, and
avenue.
road machinery?
Well, the DOR was quite insistent, to the point where now that DOR has put us on notice, the town accountant is going to be very, very reluctant, if at all, to approve any spending from any of these funds. And one is a big problem, because it's the
Cable
cable television.
Yeah.
can only be spent on
Well,
cable.
that's okay, but.
Supposed to go to the general fund rather than the resolving fund.
The revenues from the cable franchise fees are general fund revenues.
Don't they go in though? They're in the general fund now, aren't they?
No.
They don't.
No. And they'd be subject to free cash at the end of the fiscal year, wouldn't they, Mike?
Yes, they would.
Yeah, they wouldn't be in, this way, they're being encumbered basically for that single purpose. And then, yeah, so that could be an issue where there could be liabilities there that, you know, or doesn't this say that this is supposed to be to support public education in government channels? What are we supposed to put a line item in for cable now in our regular operating budget? Yikes.
May well be.
That's what you have to do.
Yeah, yikes.
Yeah.
Well, can we go to the top?
Yeah, okay.
Let's just talk about the conservation restriction fund and Mike, your opinion on that. And-
Well, this was a bit of subterfuge when it was set up. In order for the Conservation Commission to accept a certain tract of land, they had to give a conservation restriction. And just like the one at town meeting with the farm, the green
Greenbelt,
charges X amount of dollars, and in this case, they're generally $15,000 in perpetuity. And that was on the table for this parcel of land, but they said, oh, you know, it's a really small piece of land, nothing's ever gonna happen here. You know, we'll set up a fund for $3,000, and the conservation agent will be the agent to make sure it's, you know, the conservation restriction is adhered to. And DOR said, no, you can't do that.
so what if
You
we
have to have an independent third party be the holder of the, you know, the conservation restriction.
So is there money in this fund right now?
It's there was $3,000 put in.
Okay.
there was more, but I'm going back to my FinCom days when I want to say $12,000 to $15,000 at one point. But that's
That may have been
I'm
a
going from
different,
memory.
that may have been a different fund.
Right.
Don't they, if I may, don't they have different ones for like Camp Dennison? They have, I think they've got some land down on
Oh, yeah,
Stone
they-
Road that they've got. I mean, is this, they roll them all into one, or are these
No,
separate ones?
they have at
These are-
least
That's what I thought. yeah.
three.
Yeah.
They have the Camp Dennison one. Then they have one that they use all the local fees they get for applications, that goes into a fund, and then they also receive funds from the state, and that's in a separate revolving fund. Those haven't been questioned. It's just this conservation restriction fund. And the last one, it's funny, Peter just walked in, the road machinery fund. Peter can explain that, but when he leases out, when other departments borrow his machines,
Right.
they pay him.
Right.
And instead of going into the general fund, he gets, it stays in the road machinery fund, and
Offsets the lease cost.
Peter can then use it for purchasing other
Oh, okay.
machinery. Is that about right, Pete?
And I find it hard to believe that it's, you know, against the law to have that fund when it says, you know, under the direction of the Selectmen, Mass General Law, and I forget what law it is, but I find it hard to believe that, you know, maybe they need to look into it, or we need to look into it more.
I would
May,
want to
Mr.
see,
Chair?
oh, sorry, go. Sure.
Okay, Steve?
Yeah, sure.
I thought, now maybe it was a different one, but years ago, Peter, I remember we used to, at town meeting, continually put money into a road machinery fund. Now, was that a different one than what you're talking about, the lease, or is it the same way, and now we're just funding it the way we've stopped funding it?
No, the town doesn't fund it. It's like Mike said about
But I think
when,
years ago we did, pretty sure.
before my time.
Yeah, we used to, I'll go through some,
That might have been a capital fund for,
no, it was a road machinery fund. It's been there for years, and
Mhm.
we used to fund it.
When I used to do work for the water department or any department in town, they would pay us an hourly rate, which is a lot cheaper than hiring a company to come in and do it. For instance, if there was a water main break, our back would go out with an operator, and we would charge them $50 an hour to be out there to help fix the water main break. And that fund, and we use that fund to, like Mike said, to buy equipment.
Yeah.
So it's just rental, not really rental of equipment, it's people and rental.
So correct me if I'm wrong, a quick question to follow up on that. So is that money coming from an enterprise fund more so than coming from a line item budget within our own budget per se?
yes. It's coming, and Peter, I mean, we cannot be using taxpayer-funded, equipment and payroll and benefits for the benefit of the enterprise fund.
Right,
They have to pay for it
right.
in indirect charge or direct charge, however,
Mm.
but they
Interesting.
do need to pay it for it. But as in all the other direct funds, it goes into the general fund.
And they recover that money through rate.
Exactly. It's
Mm.
built
So
into
that's
their
different.
budget.
Yeah,
It's
so-
already,
yeah.
it should be
Yeah.
budgeted.
Whereas the school department can't do that, obviously.
That's right.
So that's kind of a different bucket of money. I know we're getting really specific here, but
Yeah.
quite, as a high-level suggestion, Mr. Chairman, if I might, I'd like the CPAs to give us an opinion on this, and/or legal counsel.
Yeah, I don't know why the CPAs have.
Haven't caught this.
Missed this.
Yeah, so maybe,
I think it'd be a
again,
good fall, I agree.
CPAs.
I mean, bottom line is that we have money coming in that we are earmarking through this fund that they're saying should go to the general account, general fund, and
be part of his budget and the other
and then
budgets,
we
yeah.
do budgeting versus drawing some logical ties together. So I think that logical suggestion. We just had that CPA report just to see if they had an opinion on this as well.
They didn't, there wasn't,
I don't
was nothing
remember
in.
seeing
No, but I
any.
mean, I mean specifically have them address the issue.
Yeah, I would have them, yeah, I would ask the CPAs for an opinion on this, Mike. What, you think it's better legal counsel or CPAs?
Both.
Powers and Sullivan,
Yeah,
because they would know.
Yeah.
Other cities and towns, the many that they do, they would, so I would go more Powers and Sullivan on this before I would go to the lawyers.
Because to me, yeah, this isn't really a decision for us in terms of it's either legal or it's not, and we need to know if the right opinions are in place.
Right.
And this is an accounting type of black and white issue.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a lot of deliberation, but there does have to be some fact gathering and some opinion gathering
And there's-
from the experts.
And there's nothing, there's no unwritten rule that doesn't say, that prohibits us from responding to the state DOR and saying, we have an opinion from the CPAs that says we can do this. And that you should take a look at, tell us why the
Go talk to
CPAs are
them.
wrong. No, no, in all honesty. I deal with
I
this in
know
my
that.
own business,
I know that.
where the regulator will come in and say, you can't do this, but check with the CPAs. And sometimes they will say, okay, if the CPAs, if that's under GAAP, or in our case, a little bit different, as far as,
I think the key is we want these off the list.
Oh, absolutely,
Either
yeah.
because we have found through our determination that they're appropriate,
Or they're not.
or we
Or
make
they're
a change. These are
we have
black
an
and white.
opinion to back it up besides our own.
Get them off the right. Get them off the list of issues
Exactly.
and move on.
Very good.
Dave Surface said we could.
No,
Therefore-
no, thanks.
And all right, so so define the purpose of spring, annual, and fall town
I'll
meetings.
just the Gary rule.
Uh,
The Gary rule. Sorry, I'm being a wise
So do
guy.
we have any, I think traditionally, although I know we bend this rule quite a bit, is there an official statement of the role of spring and fall town meetings at this point, Mike, that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
Can we create an SOP to define that?
That was on our goals, we
Well, I think we
SOP'd
did.
Spring, but we never
Yeah,
got.
we never got to the
to this. And I think part of the SOP is, are we gonna have an annual fall? Because see, that's just it, remember, it's a special, as I've learned, special town meeting, it's not the fall town meeting, because we don't have one.
Right.
So that's, are we gonna have a fall town meeting, and what are we gonna do there? I think that's one of the was that it, the quick fix?
Quick fix.
Yeah, I think this might be one suggestion.
And I would also say too, it's, unless we have a hot topic, it's not like we have 500 people coming to spring town meeting and 98 coming to fall town meeting. We have 98 coming to both, and we put the emergency word out to get 2 more people in. So I do think that there's some kind of history here that says, well, spring is when everybody comes and town is smaller. And that, at least since I've been here, has not been the case unless we've had a very specific issue that was on the, so I do want to just put out there that I think there's some failed logic in that, hey, spring is when everybody comes out. Because they're basically the same as far as I can tell in terms of the number of people that come out.
Right, but
It's on the menu.
spring,
Right.
the annual town meeting is required by law.
All right. And I'm not bucking that, I'm just bucking the logic of, hey, there's, because I'm sure they're trying to protect against special interests in this little town, trying to do something in fall when there aren't many people versus spring when there are. But that's a fallacy, that there's basically the same amount of people unless there's a special issue.
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, I think it is worth, documenting and noting that we should understand, especially, again, I always look at for new people coming in, why do we do these meetings and what's the point of them?
Oops, sorry.
No.
If there's money to be left on the table, then we should address it, put financial issues on the warrant. In other words, we don't want to be leaving money on the table where there's grants, that we have to do something financial if there's a grant that has a timeline
Right.
or a deadline or, a reimbursement or
It
something.
should be a significant issue.
Right, right.
For us to say, all right, we know this is not the standard procedure, but we're doing this because it's a significant issue. It's not because someone came to us and they just want to do it now instead of the spring. Gary, do you?
Well, sometime, I think a couple of years ago, I raised a point, I think we were having just a special fall town meeting, and I don't think that we really had a budgetary reason to, I think it was maybe 2 years ago. I mean, many years we have to, because we've gotta make some
Transfers or whatever.
appropriations and transfers, but, and so that could be one thing, we say that that's what it's for, and yes, is what you're saying, that it's gotta be something special to put it on there. But the other question is, do we need to start having do we need to have a scheduled fall town meeting? Or do we keep
Right.
it the way going forward that, well, it's for budget, and if there's no reason, this is where if we're calling it for, basically for the budget now, and if there's no need to have it, then should we be putting other things on there? And remember, we can always, if there is something special, you can always have, I believe, a special town meeting anytime you want, can't you? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, 'cause,
But I agree, I think we've fallen into tradition and not necessarily purpose.
Yeah. Right.
And maybe we need to relook at that and just, I mean, it's assumed there's gonna be a special town fall meeting, and maybe that's not where we wanna be.
Quick question. What is the cost of a town meeting? What's it cost us to do a town meeting? roughly, guess, best ballpark.
Um, Is it that much for the fall town meeting? The biggest part is the town clerk has to hire poll workers. I think it's more like a couple thousand.
Yeah, I wanna say
Just a couple
2,500
thousand.
sticks in my
Yeah,
head.
2,500.
It sticks in my head from my old days, but.
But people
budget days.
checking in by precinct for the,
Yes. Mhm.
okay.
And then,
Counting votes.
and then
Police
does
detail.
town council cost us money
Yes.
for that? Okay.
Yes.
And then police detail, fire detail.
Yeah, so it could add up to
Right.
4,000 or 5,000.
I'd be curious to know what that number is, you know, just kind of historical
Mhm.
for both fall and spring.
Should be in the budget, it should be a line item.
I think, I know we had,
It's under the town clerk.
yeah, I know we had
But it
numbers in
doesn't
there.
list,
It doesn't
town
break it out
council.
though, because it
Right.
also has it for elections.
Yes, so Mike would have to do a little quick analysis.
Yeah, because it had for I'm just
Comes from
curious
three
if we,
different
if we break it out, just to see what it is, because, hey, you know what? If we don't need to do a fall town meeting, there's 2,500 or $6,000 or whatever the number is that we can save. You know?
Right. So, I
You
think
do that
that's,
times 10 and times 40, and now you're starting to add up some money.
right, I agree. And I think the reason I like this report is that, you know, like you said, Gary, you had brought that up before. There's things that we and others have brought up over time. This is kind of a list that we need to cross everything off. It doesn't mean we do it, you know, or not do it, but we just get some resolution to it. I think it's a good list to get resolution to. All right, one more, and then we're gonna jump to Peter. I don't think this is, that controversial, but we advertise for auditing services periodically. Actually, we should make sure we tell
Quick
Powers
fix.
and Sullivan that when we ask for the other opinion on the revolving funds, that they also made this recommendation.
Well, I mean, I think it's
Saying,
good.
just stir the pot a little bit, but.
It's best practices to do it
Yeah,
every
right.
5 years, just do a rebid,
Mhm.
bring in the other firms. But if we decide to stick with Powers and Sullivan, that the principal in charge changes, at least for 1 year, because that's where the issues could arise. That's normal in any
Yeah. When's the last time we went out to?
1991.
Is that what it says?
Is that what it was?
Yes, it's been a while.
So every 22 years, we should re-advertise for
It's just
audits.
a matter of
So we're due.
Seeing what else is out there, but and
I
this
agree.
is a
This
quick
is-
fix one. We can do this right
Yeah,
next
that's-
time out.
Right, absolutely.
Done.
Have we engaged them already for the next fiscal year?
They're scheduled, yes, we have.
Do we have an audit? We don't have an audit committee, right? There's no.
No,
We are the audit committee, right?
No more.
technically.
No extra committees. So, but we could actually ask for a different principal from them to do this time. Dave, to your point?
Yeah, but in other words, if what we should do is we should advertise for and get 3 competitive bids, including Powers and Sullivan, 2 other firms. And what we should do is interview them and see where we are. We're not bound to take the lowest bid, are we, Mike? We would advertise,
that's correct.
That's
right?
professional services.
Yeah.
But
So-
I'm saying if we're using them already this year, we
Then
might
they
want to
should change the principal.
Change the principal. is
And
what I'm
If,
saying.
if that principal's been here more than 5 years, I'm not so sure that, I can't remember her name,
Renee.
Renee. If she's been here more than 5 years, you know, that would be the comeback to that, is that, you know, as far as the principal's concerned, but if she's been more than 5 years, then, and we do retain them again, based, after looking at 2 other firms, then we should, ask them to change the principal, at least for 1 year, to break up the cycle.
Yeah, freshen it up.
Yeah.
New set of eyes.
That's standard.
Yep.
So, anyway, yeah, and let's not do it just to do it, let's do it because we're following your principle.
Yeah, right, it's
Let's
best
see how
practice.
long Renee's been doing it for us, and I'm sure they're exposed to that on a regular basis anyway, as part of their job.
They're used to it.
So,
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead,
can we
sure.
just go back to 5 for a minute? I marked that down as quick fix, and are we gonna attempt to have Mike come up with a definition for our town meetings, or how do we wanna handle that?
Well, this is just,
How about a review of the SOP?
oh, I'm sorry, 5, I was on
Number
6 there,
5, yeah.
sorry.
Do we have a current
Purpose
SOP?
of spring and
We have one
fall
for the
town meeting.
spring, we never finished up on the fall, I believe.
So maybe the quick fix, Mr. Chairman, if I make a suggestion, is to review the current SOP we have and then develop one for the fall.
I agree. And, so Mike, we can talk about that offline.
Yes.
Because I would like to show up with a draft of what the fall could look like, you know, with the spring, so that it's just, I think it's easier to work off drafts.
Okay, good, thank you. I just wanted to make
Yep.
sure we were getting some action points on it.
Well, I'm gonna I will go back on this and kind of
Yeah, I'm taking notes.
work
if we
with
need
everybody to try and do some
borrow.
actions, just to, again, tonight I was, again, wanting to get, where people felt really strongly about stuff, felt it was, or we're already done with it, or not gonna happen, I just trying to actually have a discussion instead of an official kind of committee where we vote and do stuff.
No, it's great.
Good job, Mr. Chairman, on this. Again, this is gonna be a work in process.
Well, we're not quitting yet, we're gonna let Peter jump in, I'm not letting you go, it's not,
No, I'm not trying to get out of here
it's not
early.
time yet.
But, yeah, we got
The, hi Peter, how are you?
can't
So,
see the clock.
if you guys, we're gonna move on,
we got the app right here, Gary.
to some new business, the pavement management program.
Good evening.
You always bring the best stuff, that's exciting, riveting.
I want to be quick about this. The PowerPoint presentation, there's a lot of slides, there's 22 slides, and we can go quickly through this because there's a few graphs in here that we don't really look at. The main thing is what you have in front of you, that's for Georgetown. This basically talks about the overview and summary of findings for the pavement maintenance program. Last spring, I hired a company to come in, an engineering firm to come in and do a pavement maintenance program for the town of Georgetown. So it can give us an order of, what we need to do so this gives a 3-year summary of what to do for the next 3 years. But it classifies every road in town. In our class for the whole town out of 100 is a 66, which is not that good. But one good thing that is happening is we're gonna be doing a lot of work this year. Tomorrow, they're gonna be putting the finish coat on Linden Circle area, and on Wednesday, they'll be putting the finish coat on Bailey Lane. And then, July 8th, we're gonna start the drainage work around the library, and right after we get done, they're gonna come in, and I'm not talking the drainage work for the library, that is included, but we're doing the roadway drainage in the whole area around the library.
Good.
It's about 1,500 feet of pipe, 40 structures, so it's gonna be all brand new in that area. We're gonna be doing the sidewalks over, we're gonna be doing the pavement over. We're gonna be, the area by Winter Street is gonna have granite curb where the Verizon building is to make it safer for the kids walking on the sidewalk. Cause right now, the only thing that stops a car from going up on the sidewalk is a 8-inch stripe of paint. So that's gonna happen this year. The West Street culvert is gonna start the end of June. The company's gonna come in and start the West Street culvert to replace that. There is some work that they're gonna do for the water department to make the water line going out that way a larger water line. So that will be done. So that road will be closed for a little bit, but I will notify everybody in the neighborhood before it happens and how long it's gonna happen for. So the area around the library, we're hoping to do most of the work in the summer, have the sidewalks done before school starts, have at least one coat of pavement on the roadway around the library, and the library issue will be taken care of.
That water, thank God.
that's a
I went
mess.
by there, I think it was Friday or Thursday of last week. I got up early because it was raining out hard, and I wanted to go down and look to see how it was going. When I went down there at, I think it was 5:30, it was raining, but there was no puddle. I went down, had a coffee, came back, and there was a puddle. I think what's happening is the roof drains are draining into that same pipe. I know for a fact they are, and it's backing up. So we're gonna put 2 separate lines in, so that won't
Okay.
happen ever again.
Right.
So, and looking at the plan said a 6-inch drain, there's a 4-inch drain. It says a 8-inch pipe, there's a 6-inch pipe. So we're gonna change that. It's gonna be, it's gonna work.
Great.
So,
Pete, is the paving, when you do that, you put the first coat on, will that sustain damage in the wintertime? Or not so much?
We did it last year. We did it to Bailey Lane and to Linden Circle. It
Okay.
had one coat of pavement on.
Yeah.
And what we did is raise the structures in the last couple of weeks. So all the structures are raised. We swept it today. We're gonna get there early tomorrow and make sure it's clean again tomorrow. It will be dry by then. And they're gonna start paving that at 8 o'clock. And there may be some disruptions in the people's commute, but it's gonna be after the buses have gone through.
Yeah.
And hopefully people, they may have to wait 15 minutes if they're not out already. So they have someplace to go, a doctor's appointment, something like that, they wanna get out
Right.
and go, or move their car to a road that we're not paving.
So should it season for a while, so to speak, when
It
you
is
do a
better,
first
when
coat?
you're doing a reclamation like we have been doing lately,
Yeah.
you wanna try to let that binder coat go a year.
Let it settle.
Before you, because if anything settles, you can fix the binder coat.
Right.
And then it will look nice when you put the top coat
Yeah,
on.
that's generally
So
what
we
we
are
like to
going,
do.
we're going, around the library, it's gonna sit for a year with the binder coat. We'll open up some storm drains that have water issues.
Yeah.
The library's gonna be direct underground, so it won't be a problem, and,
Great,
so it'll be nice.
awesome.
Don't be afraid to use the code red system.
Yeah, let people know.
Yep, that's a good idea.
And Bruce will put the word out.
Yeah. Use that code red,
Yeah. That's what it's for.
So, Pete, the reports you gave us, Mr. Chairman, if I might,
Again.
sorry.
Well, can I just one question? So, Peter, your overall goal here tonight of presenting this to us is,
So you have an idea of what we plan on doing for the next 3 years, but, things have been tough lately. The first 6 years that I've been here, we've been doing a lot of work, but it's really not something that people see. Almost all of the metal pipe, whether it's aluminum or metal pipe, or steel pipe underground, is either rotted or corroded. I noticed that in the library when we were, making the parking lots for the library. We graded all the parking lots and we found the metal pipe, and it was, you stepped on it and you went through it. That's why I got a plan together to do around the library, because all that metal pipe is corroded. So since I've been here, we've probably replaced 35 crossover pipes or drainage areas like Bailey Lane. We did 600 feet of drainage on Bailey Lane over this past year. We have, I want to say 12 crossover pipes that we have the notice of intent already done. So we just have to go in there and start replacing the pipe. One of them is on North Street, right after Jewett Street. There's a depression there where the pipe is metal pipe. It's
Crushed,
junk.
yeah.
We're going to replace that, but there's also a rut from the tire marks, and we're going to fix that area too, in between Jewett and Thurlow Street. So, so it doesn't look like we're doing a lot, but we've replaced a lot of pipe. And there's not a road that we can go in and just reclaim and repave. We have to replace drainage pipe. In the past, we've received $303,000 for Chapter 90 money. And the first year that I got here, they allowed you to bank it. So we've been banking it.
Oh, good.
And we still use Chapter 90 money. This year, they gave us a raise of 50%. So now we get $457,454. So that's huge. And we're gonna start paving this year a lot, as you can see with the pavement maintenance program. That's a plus. Plus, we have the town money out of our road maintenance account that we can use to do paving. And using this, if there's money left over, when I start talking about these papers here, you'll see that, for instance, Webb Road's the worst road in town, but it's not the most cost-effective road in town. The most cost-effective road is Central Street, East Main Street, so you want to get those up to par before you work on Webb Road. But say we have some money left over, and it tells us how much it's going to cost to do Webb Road over. I can look through the line and say, okay, I have $40,000, and boom, I do this road while they're in town doing that small road. They could even be in the area, and we'll have them do that road.
Quick question. With the new drainage and everything on Bailey Lane and the recent storms, have you seen it working effectively? 'Cause they just had so many problems back there in the past.
I haven't had a complaint since we've done the work, and that's
Great.
only the binder coat, and we haven't had all the catch basins exposed. Some of them we covered with metal plates.
Yep.
One thing we did on the intersection of West Main and Bailey Lane is we made it so you had to go up to go to Bailey Lane, because the water before used to come down West Main Street and go right down Bailey
Right down the
Lane.
gunnel.
So not anymore.
Great.
It goes straight down toward the Coach's Restaurant, and there's a catch basin in there that it goes into now.
That's great news.
So, and I haven't heard of a complaint down there since we've done that. So, when we go in and do that road, like the binder coat, last year we did a little bit of work of backing up the hot top. When we get done paving these two roads, we're gonna go in, and if it's in front of people's lawns, we're gonna loam it and hydroseed it. If it's not in front of people's property, we have, ground up hot top that we get for free, that we'll be putting in that area to back up the hot top, so it doesn't crack on the edges of the road.
One other question. Parsonage, I think you had done recently.
That's
and
the
that's
road.
one that you're gonna marry.
Tomorrow.
You're gonna marry them?
Yep,
To the
tomorrow.
driveways and everything? Okay,
Yep.
because I know I've had a bunch of residents asking me about
Yep.
that, so,
Yep,
great.
and we'll put the loam in hydro seed, not seed. Well, hydro seed, so it'll be easy for them to, once we hydro seed, it's up to them to water it to get it
Yep.
to go.
Hey, that's fantastic.
So, I mean, it will look good when we're done,
Good,
so.
great.
Good.
If I may.
Sure.
You brought up the West Street, did we, so, Pond Street reminds me, did we get a resolution on the guardrails there? I remember a group was in front of us and they were concerned about the guardrails. Did you decide to go with the
I'm-
brown ones and,
The brown ones,
yeah, instead of the galvanized shiny ones?
I wasn't, no, because what I looked into it, how much it was going to cost, and I don't have the funds in my account. And I talked to Harry from CPC, and he said we could use his funds for the guardrail.
Not
So,
the Pond Street, I'm talking West.
Oh, West Street.
Yeah, West Street. I remember there was a group
yes,
here.
yes. We have it in the plan for galvanized. It's called Core 10, that rustic look.
Yeah.
The problem with the rustic look there that I've seen in Boxford, I know for a fact, that where it bolts together to the I-beam is rotting and the guardrail is just falling off. When I put guardrail up, I want it to last. That's why I don't like to use wood guardrail, because it splinters, it doesn't last. It's pressure treated, doesn't last. The galvanized guardrail, it's shiny at first, but it dulls out and it will look nice. It's just, you don't have to replace it unless somebody hits it. If somebody hits it, you find out who did it and they pay for it. So, galvanized lasts forever compared to that.
Right,
The Core
I-
10's more expensive and
Oh, is it?
it literally falls off.
Okay.
So that's the problem that they're having in Boxford. And it's not just Boxford.
So did you want to bring us through some stuff?
Sure.
Now that we've bombarded you with questions, we'll give you a minute to.
Yeah, and this, we can go through this quick because there's 22 slides and, this is a picture of a road and, we're trying to,
Apparently this is the.
Yeah. Big Daddy.
what this shows is, the right repair at the right time. The asset management forecasting tool, it's more cost effective to keep good roads good than bad roads, because bad roads, you get into reclaiming, it's a lot of work. If you can get in and do the crack sealing right away before the potholes come, it makes the roads last longer. And we have been crack sealing in the last years. Now it gives me a list what roads to crack, how much it's gonna cost. So, and we use fiber reinforced crack sealing. It shows us, like on my computer at the office, it has, all these on here. It has the GIS mapping, the field inspection program, existing conditions, the capital improvement plan, which is, it gives you a 3-year plan, and system maintenance, what you can do to, what has to be done to each road. Georgetown has 54.98 miles of accepted roads, and this just gives, we have a total of 78.36. And this is the map of the town, color-coded, of what needs to be done for each road.
And this is relatively new? You had this, 2 years ago?
No, this is
This
new
program?
this year.
Oh,
This year.
this year, okay.
We hired the company, I think it was 2 years ago, they had to do the work.
They had to do the study and everything?
Yep, they
Okay.
came out and looked at every road, they measured every road, so I don't have to leave my office. If I can just look at my list and it
Great.
tells me, how large the road is. Another good feature is, I hire a company to come in and paint the roads. I have it right here on the pavement maintenance program, how many miles of lined streets I have, whether it's fog line, center line. So I don't have to go out and measure, and I know what it's here. The other thing it tells you what streets have sidewalks, so I know how many miles of sidewalk we have,
That's fantastic.
okay? This is off the chapter 90 from the, mass.gov, and the allotted, it shows here 303.515,
Yeah.
but now we have 457. So-
Peter, before you go any further, you just said you had X amount of accepted roads? How many miles?
Yep.
How many miles?
Flip back to that slide, yeah.
55.
Accepted paved roads are 54.9. Some of these, they're not right, the accepted gravel, we don't have any accepted gravel. The town unaccepted is 4.6 miles, so it's not a lot. We, each year, the planning board has been great trying to get these roads accepted. I think it was 2 more roads we just had accepted the last town meeting. Every little bit helps, so.
But the last 17 miles there, 18 miles, you don't maintain any of that, do you?
The private and the state.
The private, we don't. The state is, I would have to say, that could be Route 97 and 133, and we do those. So unless because I don't think it's 10 miles of 95, but it could be. That could be 10 miles of 95. Okay.
I don't think we have 10 miles.
No,
And-
95 is.
Would they
no,
count up
side.
and back though?
5 and 5, and it's,
Oh, up
Both
and back.
lanes,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. 5 miles? No, that's, no, maybe.
It could be 5.
Yeah.
It's definitely could be 5 miles, because
Yeah.
it's,
Right.
this is stuff I'll show you in these lists for Georgetown. I can, bring up pictures of, whatever streets that we have. I'm gonna talk to Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, because they have all the GIS mapping of every catch basin. And with the stormwater management plan, we have to show which way the flow is, where the outlets come out. So this is something that we can work on to add to this program here. And I can punch up and know where, one thing that I'd really love to do is put easements on here, because we have easements going through people's property. When somebody calls up for a dig safe, hey, I'm doing my septic system over, I live at, 10 Clark Street, I can punch up and say, okay, 10 Clark Street doesn't have any easements through it, so I don't have to go out and mark a dig safe. So that's one thing that we're gonna try, work on this program. This is basically inspection form that I have on, let's see here, on my computer, to the left. And see it, the RSR rating for the town of Georgetown is a 66. All the roads together. So each RSR, which is the road surface rating, is listed street by street.
Pete, as you do some, will it upgrade this?
Yes,
in
I will go in and
it's done.
upgrade, like we'll be doing, Parsonage, Linden Circle, all those areas, I'll put it in this, and that will upgrade that. It will, when we do the library, it will upgrade that area,
So, go ahead.
Do you have a target RSR that you'd want to get Georgetown to, or are there good RSR, bad RSRs? What's the?
66 in the area is not good, so,
What's it out of? How much? Yeah, what's the 100?
out of 100. And I know, I don't have the list in front of me, but the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission put an RSR out for all the local communities, and 66 wasn't good. Georgetown was lower, so we're trying to move forward. One other project that I forgot to talk about is we're moving forward with West Main Street to get that from 25% design stage to 100%. So West Main Street from Moulton Street to the Groveland line will be redone. New sidewalk on one side of the street. It won't be like East Main Street where you have 2 sidewalks and have to take people's land. We're gonna do the culvert over by Rock Pond Restaurant.
So quick question, when you repave a road, that becomes 100 RSR?
Yep. This tells you what, the maintenance and repair methods. Defer maintenance meaning you don't have to do anything to it. Routine maintenance, which is crack sealing and patching, that's 40 cents a square yard. Surface treatment is $8 a square yard. Mill and overlay, when they come in and just grind off the top 2 inches and pave, it's $14 a square yard, and reclamation is $24 a square yard. There's a lot of roads in town that have not seen a 12-ton vibratory roller. So that's why it's so good to come in and reclaim the road. You use the material that's there, it just recycles it right in
Repacks it.
place. And then it comes over with they regrade it to a 2% grade from the center out, and they compact it with a 12-ton vibratory roller, which a lot of roads in town haven't seen. So, and that will bring it to 100%.
And that will address that, that lane dip that you get
Yep.
on either side?
Yep. General rating by mile, these are the existing conditions. So I know it's hard to see. So we have a lot of poor and very poor, so we want to change that. So the mill and overlay would be like Central Street, Andover Street, a section of East Main Street. West Main Street, we're gonna reclaim that, but that's gonna be a tip grant, so that will be probably a $5 million job, and the town will pay about $400,000 to $500,000 for that. So that's a huge saving for the town,
That's West Main Street.
yes.
So,
And we'll move to get other roads. After that moves forward, we're gonna move to get the other main roads on the tip.
quick question on that, then, do you have a time frame on that, Pete?
Probably 4 to 5 years out. So there's some work
So-
we have to do to that
So
before.
we should start planning and talking about, or at least get this, again, I'm a list guy, get this on the list to talk about while you have that road open essentially, right? You're gonna grind it right down?
Yep. There'll be new drainage.
Talk about, no, if you're going West Main, right, towards Groveland,
Yep.
about sewage hookup with Groveland. Maybe we
Can't
should
do it.
have that discussion.
One
I
thing
don't know.
I'll say
I mean,
about
I don't know
the
if
sewage,
that's-
the sewage doesn't go to the Groveland line and stop.
Where's it go?
You know that the school up on 97?
Yeah,
It stops before that.
okay.
They just did some paving of sidewalks.
Oh, okay.
They put a 4 or 6 inch line from where it stopped to the school. So we would have to pay from,
No, I understand, right, I just, hey, listen, just to talk about it, if
Yep.
that possibility, some way could be opened up to even just discuss it. Doesn't hurt to just talk about it,
yep,
because that could solve a lot of issues for our
Particularly for
downtown.
downtown, yeah, just a
If
downtown.
you're gonna dig that whole street up, at least on our side,
yep.
then what is it to, I don't know, again, I think we should have that discussion with Groveland.
You have it with the state, because I think you'll find that the state has said that we can't tie in with Haverhill because we're in a different watershed.
I know
Well,
we'd
again,
have,
I
I know
just
we'd
throwing
have
it
to
out
pipe
there.
back. We'd have to pipe water back. So they would take care of our sewage or the drainage, and then they would have to pipe water back to put into the Parker River. Because we're in the Parker River watershed, and that's the Merrimack River watershed.
Okay,
So,
well, it's just something to
Yep.
talk about, to at least explore the possibility. We've got the road open.
these are
I don't know.
pictures,
Good point.
these are pictures that the engineering firm took. That section of Bailey Lane is the section that's private, or it's not town accepted. So we won't be doing much out there. West Street, we're gonna work on doing that. Once we get the culvert redone, that will be huge.
And F.
Yeah.
Question,
Well,
is there, I know there's sections of Bailey Lane now that we've basically closed, right, because we bought,
Nope,
okay.
there's nothing, that's areas open, the West Main
Well,
Street.
If you're saying we won't be doing nothing with it because it's not accepted, but do we ever look to get any of these roads accepted, and how do you do that?
The problem with this road here, and I'm not positive, so don't quote me on this, there could be people that could own to the center of that road, so you'd have to go, make sure that, we have we have to own the road before we can accept it. So people may own to the middle. Yes,
Yeah.
so. In, here's a section of Tenney Street, and Jackman Street where you see we, have crack sealed. Lake Shore Drive, Union Street. So the breakdown of the repair method, so that shows all the percentage, and this tells you how much it will cost to get these roads to 100%, which works out great. Last week, I went into the State House and testified for Bruce Tarr for prevailing wage. And, one thing that I talked about, because the prevailing wage rate is first of all, they decide who pays the prevailing wage, how much it is by the unions. All I want is something that's equal. For instance, the same person that reclaimed roads in Georgetown last year, we were paying him over $50 an hour to reclaim the roads. When he worked in the western part of the state, it was $38, $39 an hour. So it's a huge difference. And Georgetown's 8,000 miles. 8,000 people. We pay the same amount as Boston. And if something happened to prevailing wage, Pembroke School would be a cheaper school. Because we wouldn't have to pay, that high rate, which I don't mind paying a union rate, but why should we pay more than the union rate just to work in a town or a city?
Right.
So here's the breakdown of the repair method, and at the bottom it tells you estimated cost. $8,575,000.
Quick question. On the costs, how long are these costs good for, and
I
how often do they
can,
get
I can
updated?
tweak these, it's part of the program that I can tweak these, because I know how much it is from when I go out to bid on the materials bid, so.
Okay.
So this is, I said 8.6 million, if I had a lower rate, I could get more done with the amount of money they give me, so.
And that 8.6, about what percent comes from other sources besides taxes?
that's how much it would cost to get the roads to 100%. So it would be all the Chapter 90 money, or the the federal tip grant. So
But, so that's a mix of grants and our taxes, correct?
no. This is not money appropriate. This is how much it would cost for us to get it to 100%.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying if we were, again, we're not doing that overnight, but I'm just wondering typically what percent does the town pay of that money versus the other sources?
I would say it's mostly by Chapter 90.
Mostly by
Mostly.
okay.
Which is our tax money anyway.
Yeah.
We're getting our fair share of the tax money
Just to
back.
give back from Big Daddy. You send it in, he skims off the top, sends the rest back, or some of it. That's a great program, though,
So
Peter.
Peter,
I mean, that's just phenomenal.
again, this is probably a crazy question, but the individuals or the company that prepared this has no construction arm of their company, right? They're totally independent?
No, this is Beta Corp. They're a large engineering firm.
Right.
I'm sure one of the reasons that they do this for city and towns, because they may get work out of it. So,
Down the road, right? Okay.
they.
No pun intended.
Yep.
Okay.
None taken.
The road surface rating, forecast. So if I spend, it gives you a breakdown. It's increase in the road surface rating. I think it's 0.8 million, and it just gives you breakdowns. If I gave a little bit more, how long it would take for everything to get done. So
So when we get our Chapter 90 money, they're not going by the quality of the road, they're just going by the length, right?
no, it's to fix them
No, the money that we get,
is by the length. It's by how many employees you have in town.
Yep.
So how many people work in the town of Georgetown.
right?
That's a factor. I can give you the it's a.
No, I was just, there's
Yep.
no quality measurement though, is what I'm saying.
No.
Okay. Why
So-
would we ever want to get that far? Why do we give communities that have a rating of 90%, why do they get the same?
No, it's all by mileage, how many
Right,
people
well,
work in town.
that's the
and-
point.
Yep.
Where's the need factor and all that?
Yeah. So this is, let's see here. This is the CIP development, planned improvements for between 2013 and 2015. And that is on the papers that I have in front of you of, we're gonna do 8.49 miles of crack sealing, 1.88 miles of mill and overlay, and then 3.5 of reclamation. So that's what we have planned for the next 3 years.
Pete, one suggestion, Mr. Chairman, if I might. Sure. One request is that, this is great. I mean, this is gonna work I think it'll almost work perfectly. My only concern would be, our suggestion would be, is that if you have a small road that's pretty inexpensive to do, and it's really hampering, residents of the town are really having an issue with it, and it's not as large as doing West Main Street, for instance, and
Yep.
it's only, again, I won't mean only, but maybe it's a $5,000 fix, that you
Yep.
look at some of those too.
Oh, I
You know, the
definitely will.
nuisance
Because I
factor
have-
ones.
You have the list in front of you that goes from the worst road to the best road.
Right.
And, that is what I'm gonna tackle first. And if you look at that list, Lincoln, Maple, Parsonage, Park Street are all on, Parsonage not anymore, but Pleasant Street are all on that list.
Pingree Farm Road, how's that one doing? Is that all set?
Pingree Farm Road is
Good.
not a problem.
Thank you. But it's those small, it's those,
Yep. Well, like,
the one
for
on the
instance,
side ones, I'm saying,
we
you know?
have some issues that I'm gonna try out. There's one thing that I don't like is it's called hot in place. I don't really like hot in place. And then there's another type that you can go out and it heats up the road, and that's the hot in place with two 18-wheeler sized vehicles, and it heats up the whole road, and it puts more emulsion in it. But I don't like how it's that's one type. I don't like that. I've seen it in Boxford. I don't like how it lasts. I'd rather save my money and just go in to reclaim the road. Microsealing's another way you can, work on a road that they put like an emulsion down with stone dust. And I don't like how that lasts either.
Yeah.
So,
it's just, my point was, you got all these large projects, but you may
Yep.
have 10 or 15 that are really easy fixes that you can get
yeah.
done
And
quickly
when I have them
get
in town,
people, the
that's
frustration
definitely what
level
I
of
plan on
people.
doing. When I have these companies in town doing the larger areas, they're gonna
Right.
go off and do whatever's in that area.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see, next steps, we're gonna coordinate, like, one thing we did around the Linden Circle area. the gas company came in there, they showed me a plan, I don't have it with me now, but they showed me a plan, they wanted to replace all the gas lines in the Linden Circle area. So to do that, they would have to pay, one of my guys to be out there while they're digging, compacting the road, because that's in the contract, and when anybody does work on the roadways in town, one of my guys are there watching them, getting the detail rate, so they either take a day off from work, whether it's vacation or a personal day, and they watch these guys to make sure that they compact properly, because I hate driving down the road and you feel a bump and you say, geez, why is this here? And it's, most of the time, it's from utilities coming in doing work, and they don't care about compacting the road. So that's why they're out there watching them, they're watching the town. So instead of paying a person to be out there for the Linden Circle area and to pay to have that small 2-foot trench that they dug up on all of Linden Circle, we came up with a money agreement to pay. And I said, you don't have to, do any of that. You don't have to pave. You don't have to pay my guy to be out there watching your compact, because we're going to come in and reclaim that road. So they gave the paving company directly $20,000 to go toward paving that road. So that was, a savings for the town, and it worked out for them because it was easier for them too. So. This, basically, we'll re-inspect roadways. If, people call up and say, geez, I got this pothole in front of my house, and we go out there and it's bad, we're gonna take care of it. One thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna have a small milling machine come in and do areas of town that are bad, to do like a Band-Aid until that big project comes along and we fix it. I just think it's a better way than going out filling a pothole this size, or just going out filling, like on Andover Street, we patched some big patches out there, and it's coming up. But if we mill down an inch and then pave that area there, it'll last longer. And, we plan on doing that we have an area on Jackman Street that's pretty bad that we're gonna try that out on.
I look forward to
So that's that pavement maintenance program. And, let me see.
Well, it seems like a real useful tool.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's a great program.
Being
So
able to
if we look at
prioritize.
this real quick, these basically talk about the classifications of the roadways, how many miles of roads for each class. So this is, I probably shouldn't even have put this page in, but I did. The second page, this is the list of every road in town. It shows the road surface rating for each road. So if you look at this, the worst road in town is Webb Road, and it will cost $66,984 to repair. Hazen Court is not a town accepted road, so that is wrong. Pentucket Avenue is another road that is not an accepted road. But one thing we did, we had the reclaimer in doing Bailey Lane and Linden Circle on their way by, because by law, we can spend up to $500 on a roadway. Pentucket Ave was bad, so we had the person come in and reclaim that road, because it wasn't pavement, it was just an oiled road years after years. I picked up the chunks of broken up tar, and it's just been, in the old days, that's what they used to do. So we reclaimed that, regraded it, and we put in speed bumps to slow people down from going down the roadway, because we got complaints about that. So that's Pentucket Avenue, which is on the way to the pond.
Okay.
So this gives a list of each road, so you can see these small roads. It doesn't cost a lot of money on those small roads. And like, for instance, this year, Maple Street's gonna be done, and that's 4th on the list. Pleasant Street, Park. So these are all on the list to get done this year. So that's that list there. That shows every road and what their RSR is. So Webb Road is a 4, so it's not in good condition. But it's not a heavily traveled road, but that is definitely something that if we have the money to do. The next list, which is, it's streets sorted by average cost benefit value. This is the list that you wanna look at for the most bang for your buck. So it tells you what East Main Street needs crack sealing, West Main Street, some surface treatments. But we don't wanna spend a lot of money on West Main Street, cause it's going toward the 100% stage in the tip. Central Street is a mill and overlay of, $414,000, so that's all your chapter 90 money in 1 year. But there's not a lot of drainage work that Central Street needs. Andover Street needs drainage work. From, say, Ballpate Road down the hill, that all needs to be redone. It's not adequate enough. We have to do something about in front of the church. We have to put multiple drains there to collect that water so it doesn't come out. I've
ice
seen
it.
the water come down there.
Canterbury, yeah.
You could whitewater raft.
Yeah, that Canterbury, the
Exactly,
ice in the
same thing.
wintertime is bad.
Yep. So that's, something that we, that will probably be the next plan of work that we wanna do drainage-wise is Andover Street. So this is the most bang for your buck list. And then the last list that we have is the proposed roadway improvement plan, for the next 3 years. So it shows here, Jewett Street. So Jewett Street, it starts at Rogers Way, Tenney Street. So it starts over 95 and taking a right, that will be done. We have, let's see, Lincoln Street, Maple Street, Park Street, Pleasant Street, Winter Street, that will be done this year. Fiscal year 14, we're looking at Tenney Street, and then 15, we're looking at Pond Street. And then it gives you a small list of, if you have money available, some areas on Central Street to do. And we have 2 more FEMA mitigation grants for Central Street down by the Colonel's house, past Noonan's, that sharp corner, it floods there. So we're gonna replace 2 culverts there. That money's already been, we're already all set on that. And another one that we received, another FEMA mitigation grant for Thurlow Street. So we have $1.2 million in FEMA mitigation grants to fix some of these culverts, which is a huge saving. And I would have to say, listening to the people from MEMA, Georgetown's probably the FEMA mitigation grant capital of Massachusetts.
Good,
So,
good.
Well done.
We'll take it.
Great job.
and we're always looking, to try to save money or get the most out of the money we have. That's why I thought it was important to go to the State House and talk about prevailing wage. So hopefully that looks good and that will go forward.
So Senator Carr put in a bill forward
Yes.
to try and offset that?
Not offset it, he's trying to have a commission decide what the rate is.
For smaller towns.
And
Or-
one thing that he's putting forward too is if a job is under $500,000, you don't have to use prevailing wage, which would be huge. Because right now, we're gonna be starting in the library area, and one of the things that you can do to get it out of using prevailing wage is use an owner-operator. So we're hiring an owner-operator to come out to do the drainage work around the library. I got a price from one company for prevailing wage, all their men, equipment, we're buying all the materials, and it was $125,000. I have a price from this person here, but the only difference is we're gonna be using the highway department people now. But he'll still have him and his son, which is still owner-operator. It's him and son, so that works out good, and it's gonna cost $39,000. So it's a huge savings for the town.
That's just, that prevailing wage is just painful.
And it's, it's not, like the huge savings, because we're using our men compared to them using their men. So the 4 guys that we're gonna have out there, they'd be paying 4 guys prevailing wage. So it's a little bit different. My guys don't get prevailing wage.
So that 39,000 includes using your guys too?
No.
Okay, so
My,
what-
it's more like $67,000
Okay, well, that's the
with
point.
my guys.
So it's-
But it's still the.
It's almost
it-
50 cents on the dollar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's still, my guys come to work 40 hours a week, so we planned already, July 8th, we're starting that. So school's gonna be out, and we're gonna have sidewalks and pavement by school, when school gets back in,
Great.
so.
Great.
Good stuff.
And you didn't even
Good
ask
job,
for any
Pete.
money.
Right.
I try not to, the
We're only
town's-
joking, Pete. We're
the
only
town's
kidding.
very good, for the highway department.
I enjoy
We
that new
purchased-
forklift loader thing you got, whatever.
Yeah.
I always call Pete.
Skid steer.
There goes the mic.
What was that? Oh, is that for you?
Someone pulled it.
I always call Pete the best bootstrapper in town.
That's right. No, I think we appreciate all the effort you go into making the most of what you got. And
Absolutely.
your team and the work they do. Absolutely.
Much appreciated.
Great. So anything else, Peter, that you got?
That should do it, I think.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thanks for your time.
Great job,
You,
Pete.
man.
Great. Let's just jump ahead to the poll workers if we could.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint the following list of poll workers for the special state election to be held on Tuesday, June 25th, as presented by the town clerk.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Ayes have it. All right. And our last order of business, and we are actually on time,
Are we doing appointments now?
we will go to do the appointments.
Want me to run through some of these?
Yeah, so
Looking at the yeses. Right.
the new yeses, Janet, are the ones we're looking at?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I tried to mark them.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Charles Kelty to the Affordable Housing Trust with a term to expire June 30th, 2015.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint to the Board of Health William Giancopoulos with a term to expire 6/30/2016.
Second.
Motion and second, point of discussion. Oh,
It's
no,
Board of Health.
sorry.
Board of Health.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, motion and second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Susan Madigan to the Cultural Council with a term to expire 6/30/2016.
Second.
Is that, hold on, is that 6:21 or 6:30? It says 6:21 on here.
It should be
That she
6:30.
expires. Should that be 6:30?
Yes.
Okay.
That was her
Well,
first
we
appointment
got a
date.
motion and second, so discussion, what's the right date?
6:30, yeah, 6:30.
Okay, just want
Okay.
to make sure.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Catherine Hanlon to the Cultural Council with a term to expire 6/30/2015.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, can I?
Did you vote?
Aye, yeah. Do I do these? I can do these as a group, right, the next one? Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to appoint to the Economic Development Committee Howard Snyder, Richard Williams, and Gary Fowler with a term to expire 6/30/2014.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there are two openings on this committee. One from the Planning Board, which we'd like to see filled, and one at-large seat vacant. So if anybody wants to step up and be on the Economic Development Committee, certainly contact Janet.
I think that's good. I'd also like to add that, Mike, it might make sense, you know, it doesn't have to be this summer, but at some point to have them come back in and just talk to us about what their goals are these days. And I know they can be challenged to get people together and you know, but just understanding what they're working on, because I know they had some important activity around retaining some businesses in town. I think, I know I'm a little out of touch. I'd like to see if we could just get back in touch with what they're working on.
Sure.
And again, that doesn't have to be a summer rush type of thing, but, you know. Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
My question on the, Mr. Chairman, if I might,
Abstain.
Energy Committee.
I'm sorry, one abstain.
Gary abstained.
When we're done with the our project, is this committee going to stay intact, or what's the thought process on that?
That is a good question. I don't know.
The energy,
Energy Committee? Okay,
that's why I put a question.
yeah. Now we're done with the ESCO, should we continue, will they continue to meet?
Well, the ESCO is an ongoing commitment, you know, so at some point, we're gonna have to monitor their results and review it. So I don't know if that would be a good use of this committee to do that, because it's not done, you know, every year.
Yeah.
It has to be proven. So Mike, I don't know if there was alternative plans put in terms of who would monitor those results, or whether it would be this committee.
We would more than likely use our OPM to monitor it on an annual basis,
Okay.
because it's so highly technical. You know, we could get into, we need a technician to do
Right.
it.
Yeah, these, absolutely, this can't be the group that necessarily says
But they can
yes.
monitor it, though.
But I think,
Review it.
well, I guess we can talk to Reggie and see what his thoughts might be on it, or,
Well, in my conversation with Reg, he got this thing through and accomplished, and he's gonna use this as his swan song and bow out.
well, I would say that then if we really, let's not create or
Right.
move a committee forward that doesn't have a purpose. So I suppose they can reform if a new purpose arises, or if there's interest, so.
I did have someone, a resident call and said they're eager to get on it, but we need an agenda, a purpose for having it.
Well, let's get them on another committee that's.
Yeah, economic development.
That sounds like it.
Economic, energy, economic
Economic
development.
development, begins with an E.
Energy,
A lot
yeah.
of towns looking into solar and that, and that committee could-
That's precisely what this individual was most interested in, advancing the solar initiatives.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to appoint Richard Aberman, James Demento, Elizabeth Wade, Suzanne Caulfield, Dave Shower, Juliet Reck, and Al, I want to say it right, Kitchen?
You got it.
All right, to the Parks and Rec Commission with terms to expire 6/30/2014 on all of them.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, next one is, where are we? Holding up on that one, all right?
Yep.
All right. Hold, hold.
Did you want to appoint the two? All right.
I think that's it.
That's it for tonight.
Mr. Chair, I have a request that we have work with our town newspaper, and I spoke to Bruce about it, our reporter over here, and have Janet share with him the open positions, and do a story on, potentially on volunteerism in town, and just publish what are open, what positions are open, and maybe do a little expose on some of the people that are volunteering in town on different boards, just to, kind of highlight that article and just to be able to get the word out about these open positions.
So are you volunteering to help
I will work.
discuss the
I will work
volunteers?
with Bruce and Janet on that very topic.
Because I think too, sometimes an indication of the time involved on different committees could be helpful too, because I think people don't necessarily know how much time is involved, so, but that'd be great, that's fantastic. Sometimes you gotta ask. We do have actually another order of business, the town administrator's report. Mike, you had some money movement?
Yes, can you give me this, and then take one and pass it on, please. I have two orders of business. One is a line item transfer, actually two of them. The Finance Advisory Committee just posted their meeting this week, that's why this didn't make it onto our agenda. But the library is asking to transfer $1,750 from their salary line to their expense line. And they had one position went unfilled for a long part of the year. So it was a part-time position, but they'd like to transfer the money from salaries to expenses, to cover expenses. And the second request is from, I don't know that this unemployment salaries is, there's no salaries, but we had a workers' comp, and we do this every year, workers' comp audits the payroll, and, because it's always just an estimate of what our payroll is gonna be. And in this case, the audit, the payroll wasn't so much off, but certain employees, in this case cafeteria workers, were misclassified in previous year. And come to find out, cafeteria workers have one of the highest rated workers' comp jobs. And they right below highway department and electric line workers, above police and fire, for injuries on the job. So when we only had 6 cafeteria workers, but they got reclassed, and we have to pay almost an additional $10,000. So that luckily our unemployment insurance we budgeted 100,000, and we're only going to spend about less than, well, at least 50. So there's plenty of money in there to transfer from that line item into the workers' comp. And based on the Mass General Law, we need to make those transfers a majority vote from the Board of Selectmen and a majority vote from the Finance Advisory Committee.
Okay, can we do both transfers simultaneously, or should we do them one at a time?
Your choice.
Okay.
It's a recommendation, rather, it's not,
No, this is not a recommendation. Well,
it's FinCom's duty to make the transfer, and
oh.
we are,
you-
okay,
You have to have a majority vote from both bodies.
okay.
Well,
I don't have it in front of me. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to, let's see, move, line item transfer from account 16111 library salaries, $1,750 to account 16112 library expense, and also from account number 19131 unemployment salaries to account 19121 workman's comp.
motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Good. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Great.
And this next item is advisory only. They're the reserve fund transfers. It's only the Finance Committee can make that transfer, but I've created at least a FYI for the board to get involved, so you know when these transfers occur. And there's a group of them, this being the end of the fiscal year. If the last section here with the subtotal of 35,455, you actually have discussed the $9,000 veterans benefit. The paperwork got lost somewhere, and the Finance Committee signed it, but never got it to the town accountant, so we're redoing that. And then Communications had a number of, at least 2 employees out for extended period of time, so they had to pay overtime and sick time. So they need an additional $7,200. The school crossing guards were, I think what happened, they added an additional guard during the year, and that's why they're short $1,415. Police expenses, the police are asking for additional money to cover unanticipated mandated training expenses and additional fuel costs. Also, they're looking for additional funds, $3,840 to finish the radio project. And lastly, the town clerk is looking for an additional $7,500 because of the unexpected senatorial election.
Special election.
Good news about that,
Reimbursement.
the state legislature has voted to reimburse the towns, but we won't see it till next fiscal year. So it doesn't require any action on your part, but thought I'd bring that to your attention.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board regarding that information? Is that? Gary, do you have? Okay.
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. Any other business the board wants to bring up at this time?
If I may,
Sure.
it's concerning some emails that I got about, Mike has been working with the unions on the insurance. And I spoke to Mike about this last week, I guess, and I didn't feel that we as a board had voted to move ahead with this, and I was rather surprised that we were, I would say, basically in negotiations, and Mike did explain that he felt that it was on his agenda of things to get accomplished on his performance review. But I didn't think that it was at that type, and he felt that we had, at that meeting, when we decided to send a letter, but I got the minutes from that meeting, and I don't read it that way. I mean, I'm not to say whether I'm pro or against this, it's just that I feel that we as a board should have talked about this before we got into this. I don't know how deep we are and how it's going to be affected, but
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I can recall, and again, I'm just trying to think about this, but didn't we have an executive session where we voted to adopt the ability to do this? The statute or whatever, the actual, is it executive session committee minutes where we said we would adopt this section or this particular piece of the law?
I've got the minutes.
Those are regular ones or executive?
These,
Talking about health
no,
insurance?
these-
We had an executive session with the
GIS
lawyer,
or
and we
whatever,
voted that
GIC.
night with
I
Jack.
think to Gary's point, though, and I'm trying to recall, I think we voted to take the first step, so it might be worth just, I'm not sure we took the vote with someone saying we don't have to move forward if we don't want to, this is just the first step. And I'm going by memory here, I don't remember it either.
Well, it was pretty well in the minutes too, that way. Yeah.
So,
Was executive session, Gary?
No, I don't believe that.
No, we voted in executive session with Jack there. I can remember, if I could be crazy, but after we had discussions with Jack and we voted to adopt the particular statute or whatever it was, or the particular,
maybe,
process.
and again, I don't remember, I don't, the
have to go back and
specifics,
look.
so.
But getting a regular update, I agree with you, Gary. It kind of came as a surprise, and then some of the emails going back and forth got nasty. And but then I had talked to Mike about it, and things got settled down that there was some opinions that weren't really correct, or dates that really weren't correct on both sides, from what I understand, as far as deadlines, as far as open enrollment and all that kind of stuff.
There was confusion,
Notice times or something.
and the timing wasn't the best. But I was under the impression that I was authorized to send out the 5203 letter, which starts the clock, the negotiation clock ticking for plan design change.
Right.
And we went over the different plans, compared the GIC plan with the Maya plan, the Maya alternative or GIC lookalike.
Right.
Even though the GIC plan had more savings for the town, it was also more costly for the employee, and this board decided to go with the plan that was less costly for the employee. I don't think it was at that meeting.
No, I remember the meeting you're talking about also. I do remember, I don't remember the date on that, so I don't have the things. And I'm not saying I want to throw a monkey wrench into it. I just want to make sure that we are open about what we're doing. And, you know, I think you're doing what you felt and I don't mean this against you. You explained to me that you felt that that's what you were supposed to be doing, but I think we had at least I had a misunderstanding there.
I think a more frequent update on where we are with the process, Mike, would help some frustration in that regard.
Well, we haven't done anything up until
Right.
Right.
That was
But
really
at least,
the
hey,
start
the
of
start
this.
of those emails.
Yeah, at least we're still waiting, you know. We're-
Is there another decision point for us as the select board, or
Well, yeah, they're what the Public Employee Committee is requesting is beyond my, I feel beyond my authority to grant. So, yes, I need to talk with the board and update them on the negotiations itself.
is that an executive session, or is?
Absolutely.
Okay. And if we do that before the next meeting, is that enough time?
Yes.
I mean, is it too late, or is it okay?
No,
Is
it's
that time
not,
okay?
it's not too late. It's definitely not too late.
Okay. So we will plan for executive session before our next meeting to continue that discussion.
Yes.
And Gary, I'll circle back with Mike too, just on the chain of events here.
Yeah, and perhaps if Dave can get the dates of the meeting that
Yeah, I
he
can
seems to
we-
remember. I mean, you
yeah,
know, you can't remember everything. And like,
Right.
this is back in, you know, January of 12, so it all goes back a ways. And I mean, I just want to feel comfortable about it going forward. And I'm not,
We should look for the executive session minutes the last time we had Jack in and we discussed this issue, because we voted that night to set the thing in motion. I know we did,
Yeah, I thought we had.
so.
okay.
It's just been the delay, and I think part of the process, you know, hey, at least along the way, an update of, hey, we're still waiting, or this is where we are, because then we kind of forget about it. That's where I think the frustration.
Well, actually, Phil has inquired
Yeah, he's
numerous
been on-
times
he's been asking me all along.
at meetings during the town administrator report.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll see if we can at least track down those minutes, and then we'll also just keep regular conversations going on in the process, and we'll start with that executive session next time to talk through it.
Thank you.
Good, that's a fair point to bring up. Any other things to be brought up?
Go Bruins.
Go Bruins. Motion to adjourn, I'll entertain.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, go
Good night.
Bruins.